How they claiming they on top and I'm a mile up. I know the wall's closing in, but don't you dare give up now. Poe believed in me, pull up through some bucks down. Todd told the valet pull the truck round. Push the line up that we drew it, it's just us now. Would you believe me if I told you my granny told me she prayed this? Then booked the surgery just to pull me out of the basement. Right back where I started, nothing to show for a facelift. Got pushed playing Walter White and Davis, never felt so dangerous. The type of power they can't quantify. And name the best from my region, you gotta utter mine. Think of who really putting on, you never come to mind. Rapping like your Spotify, tap you rappers compromise. Yeah, no need to panic, just paint the canvas. If you can feel the static, you're too close, find your balance. Embed the revolution for they prohibition bandwidth. Blood trickle from the leaders he was planning. I had them all line before I dial up. How they claiming they on top and I'm a mile up. I had them all line before I dial up. How they claiming they on top and I'm a mile up. Bought at that flight to Amsterdam. When my accountant and minus my family found out too and didn't like it. You're not in the salon with Dale said and I thought he was biased. Then I got a Venmo that said copy the finest. Before my foolishness settled in, recorded a whole tape before we got to Berlin. This close to giving up and now never again. Don't overlook the work and come expecting to win. In the end, my word, never put nothing over the squad. Got it right up under their nose and fight a facade. Off the cliff with broken wings, I'm aware of the odds. Enough faith for us all, I'm the one for the job. Most days, catching sun rays, baby, look like the front page. Overthinking what they might say, have it your way. Yeah, the biggest threat is something they never seen. Dial it up, patch me into the screen. I had them all line before I dial up. How they claiming they on top and I'm a mile up. Line before I dial up. How they claiming they on top and I'm a mile up. I know the wall's closing in, but don't you dare give up now. Poe believed in me, pull up through some bucks down. Todd told the valet pull the truck round. Push the line up that we drew it, it's just us now. Would you believe me if I told you my granny told me she prayed this? Then booked the surgery just to pull me out of the basement. Right back where I started, nothing to show for a facelift. Got pushed playing Walter White and Davis, never felt so dangerous. The type of power they can't quantify. And name the best from my region, you gotta utter mine. Think of who really putting on, you never come to mind. Rapping like your Spotify, tap you rappers compromise. Yeah, no need to panic, just paint the canvas. If you can feel the static, you're too close, find your balance. Embed the revolution for they prohibition bandwidth. Blood trickle from the leaders he was planning. I had them all line before I dial up. How they claiming they on top and I'm a mile up. I had them all line before I dial up. How they claiming they on top and I'm a mile up. Bought at that flight to Amsterdam. When my accountant and minus my family found out too and didn't like it. You're not in the salon with Dale said and I thought he was biased. Then I got a Venmo that said copy the finest. Before my foolishness settled in.
What's going on, family? This is Jackie Luqman.
And I'm Baba Luqman.
And welcome to another episode of The Cypher in Luqman Nation.
The most dangerous show on social media. The second most dangerous show on social media. Because Luqman Nation is the most dangerous show.
Yes.
And so The Cypher is the second most dangerous show on social media. And Luqman Nation is the most, you know what I mean.
You know what I mean.
Yeah.
Yes. And you know, our friend and comrade, Dr. Jared Ball, didn't like that we called ourselves the most dangerous show on social media. It completely joking, y'all. There's just a joke, an inside joke. But you know, you should know by now that we have a spot on Black Power Media, which is absolutely the most dangerous media outlet on social media.
We're definitely, and when I say we, I'm talking about Black Power Media as a whole. Mm-hmm. We're definitely setting ourselves up to be the premier source of Black radical thought. You know, mm-hmm. So shout out to the visionaries, Dr. Jared Ball and others who and you know, I was watching Dr. Sharice, Dr. CBS and Dr. Ball, right?
Dr. Sharice Burton.
Dr. Sharice, yeah. And one thing that was that I've learned because we know them, we're friends of theirs, but we don't know everything about them.
Right.
And the thing of it is that, I didn't know that Dr. Ball had this idea for years, so I'm so glad that this is starting to really formulate, and that we, Luqman Nation, are a part of the Black media, Black Power family.
Yep. I mean, it is really exciting. And actually, it's been so impactful. And this is why we say all the time, people make a big deal about how many Twitter followers folks have, how many Facebook followers people have, how many YouTube followers people have. And they believe that, that puts their opinion above everybody else's because they have so many followers, right? Mm-hmm. Well, on my day job,
we have to remind people that, we do this for the love of the people, but this isn't our jobs. You know what I mean? So
right. So and on my day job, we have been able to do what we love for work. So, if you don't know, I'm a co-host of By Any Means Necessary on Radio Sputnik with Sean Blackman, Sean the Voice Blackman.
Sean the Voice, that's right.
And we got a call today.
Yeah.
And By Any Means Necessary is on Sputnik 5 days a week, 2 to 4 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. We got a call today from someone who calls in all the time to By Any Means Necessary. Okay. But I didn't know that he had watched. He is also a follower of Black Power Media.
Well, good for him.
But so he called today to shout it. He called into the show By Any Means Necessary. Brave from Atlanta called into the show to shout out Black Power Media.
Good for him.
You just being the crotchety old man sitting there.
No, but I mean, but that's what it's about.
Exactly. Yeah, that is what it's about. And it was really beautiful because, he said he didn't agree with Dr. Ball's position on the ADOS thing because he specifically referenced the discussion they had with ADOS. Right. And he didn't agree with Dr. Ball's position, but he said he respected that the conversation was had. And we talked about that for a minute. And we raised the point that we are, the Luqmans, are going to have a show next week. Right. About why we, the Luqmans, are Pan-Africanists and internationalists. Yeah,
because one thing that we want to make clear is the fact that, and not everybody on Black Power Media have the same opinions.
That's true.
So before we get into the blood and Crips type thing, we have to be known that no, everybody doesn't support either Dr. Ball's opinion. Everybody has this own separate opinion. We haven't been brought together. And this, we have not formed this, and we have not joined this in order, to be, to follow in lockstep with anybody's ideology or anybody's opinion. We definitely respect the opinions of everybody who we work with. But the Luqmans, we basically have our own approach to things, which we call Luqmanisms, and we will be sharing Luqmanisms with you as we go along in future broadcasts. But before we go on this, I want to just get all of this stuff out of the way. Please, if you're new to this, press the like button, notifications, subscribe if you haven't already, and just tell your friends and even your enemies about this because they can learn something too. And also check out Black Power Media, which is 24-hour content. So there it is, and check us out on Patreon, Twitter. Right. We don't do Instagram too much though.
No,
I mean, we have an Instagram account, but we rarely go there. I bet you right now we got rats and stuff running around now.
Well, pretty much. Yeah, we don't go in there.
Yeah, we don't go in.
We don't go in that room. We don't open that door.
Yeah.
A bunch of pictures of our dog Brewski on there.
Yeah, that's it.
From a couple of years ago. It's just too many social media platforms.
Right.
To pay any attention to. So let's get into the news.
Yeah. Yes.
I know it hasn't been.
I have to lubricate my throat.
It has not been. It's been an interesting news cycle. So there's some stuff we're just not even going to pay any attention to. Like, just hit real quick. Y'all know that Joseph Biden lied to you about those stimulus checks and that $15 an hour,
Yep.
right? You know that man put that $15 an hour proposal in that COVID relief stimulus bill because he knew the way it played out was going to happen exactly the way it played out.
Oh, yeah, definitely.
I mean, come on now. This man has been around for 40 years, 50 years, 189 years.
Exactly.
And he didn't know that he. So this is the way the Democrats are going to say that, look, we tried to raise the minimum wage, but look, the Senate parliamentarian wouldn't let us do it.
Right.
But what they're not going to tell you is that when the Trump administration did the same thing in putting the tax hike in or the tax break for rich people, in some other bill, and the Senate parliamentarian at the time said, no, you can't do that. You know what the Republicans did? They fired the Senate parliamentarian.
Hey, you know what? You can say what you want about the Republicans, but you can say what you want about them. I mean, definitely, we're no fans of the Retrumpicans, and we're not no fans of all of them. But but they know how to get their agenda done. We were talking earlier, Jackie, and one of the things I never understood after following these things for a while, why is it that when there's a Republican administration, they go straight gangster? The Democrats, they don't come out and say we need reconciliation. They don't come out and say, well, we need partisan votes. You know what they say? This is what we're going to do, and we're going to do it. I mean, case in point, the Supreme Court. Now, Barack Obama had the chance to appoint a Supreme Court judge on the Supreme Court during his last term, right? And Mitch McConnell and them just straight jacked him. You know what I mean? Because it was like, well, they came out of their ass with some kind of it should be the will of the people. It should be this. They stand on the Constitution when somebody else does something.
Right.
So then all of a sudden now, Obama, who didn't fight for much, and he definitely didn't fight for this. And what happened was he missed the opportunity to put somebody on the Supreme Court. Trump put 3 people on there.
Right. And didn't care what anybody thought about it. And this was Obama's problem. And we're going to talk about Obama and his fear of white people in a minute. But Obama didn't want to upset the white people. I don't, we know that appointing another Supreme Court justice is going to be contentious, so we don't want to do that right now.
Oh my God.
No, we don't want to threaten the bipartisanship that I'm trying to accomplish across the aisle, so we don't want to do that now.
Right.
Republicans got in office and they were like, this person, that person who's not qualified, this other person and their mama and possibly their dog is being is going to serve on the Supreme Court, the federal courts, and all other stuff. What happened? Oh, I didn't know your button was open. Yeah. I'm sorry. Yeah. Pretend like you did not see the sexiness underneath the button, folks. So that happened with your $15 an hour minimum wage. The Democrats are going to they say they're going to try to introduce the bill as a standalone bill. They don't have, they need a 60 vote supermajority in the Senate to pass that bill. There are no Republicans who are going to vote for $15 minimum wage. Joseph Biden and Kamala Harris knew that from the beginning. That's why they put that proposal in the COVID relief bill, so they could have this cover to say, oh, see, we tried. But first, the Senate parliamentarian didn't want to do it. And then when we introduced the bill, Republicans didn't want to support it. So that's that. And the same thing is going to happen with this massive voting rights bill that the Democrats, so much grandstanding with these people. Same thing is going to happen with the voting rights bill. They just passed H.R. 1, which is this massive voting rights bill that they've been dragging their feet on all this time. That's not going to pass either. Right. They also passed what they call the George Floyd Act. This police Let me not say anything else. And let
But
me
but on the other hand, when you visit the local down in Georgia and you look at other states and stuff, the Republicans are busy putting their agenda in place. Down in Georgia, they're putting through bills where you're going to have 2 IDs.
Yep.
You're going to they even attacking souls to the polls, y'all. You're right. You can't even. They're trying to make it where you can't even vote on Sunday because they understand that we black folk, after hearing a good old, a real good preaching, and we want to go vote. And souls of the polls, nobody mess with that. Souls of the polls is like a black tradition, man. It's like line dancing. It's like, and
we line dance at Souls to the polls.
We do. Look. And now all of a sudden the Republicans. They're putting in legislation where you can't even do that.
Exactly.
And they're shortening the time for absentee ballots.
And
I mean,
early voting.
Early voting. I mean, these people are just straight up, and they know they have to do this, Jackie, because they understand that they just don't have the numbers.
They don't.
They don't have the numbers. And Georgia showed them of things to come, and they know that. And not that they just started doing this. They've been doing this for quite some time because they understood what was ahead for them. And now that the party that Trump then took over the party now, now they're saying, wow, we don't even know we're going to win another election. So, with the folks that support him. So let's make sure that we rig it right now.
Precisely. And I mean, when you look at the crowd of folks that showed up to DC on January 6th, those were not a whole bunch of young people.
No.
Like when you looked at the protests last summer, all throughout the summer, all across the country, over some estimates say, 75,000 protests, 7,500 protests rather. Other estimates say up to 10,000 protests across the country. But across the country, you saw a lot of young people in those there were middle-aged folks and some older people who were just sick of this shit and figured, you know what? I really need to get out here and lend some support at least. But you saw a lot of young people. The Republican Party looks at their rallies and at, their CPAC, and they see a bunch of old ass white people.
Old middle-aged white people who they know can't be the future of this party.
I mean, they literally, the Republicans' constituency is literally like the caricature of Clint Eastwood in Gran Torino screaming, "Get off my lawn."
Yep. These are the people who are targeted by AARP.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. So,
I feel kind of, because I got a letter from AARP.
Yeah. So, this is like the AARP fan club, we're dealing with. That's
true. So yeah, all of that. And okay, so let's talk for just a couple of minutes about this George Floyd Act, because the Democrats also passed this in the House now. This HR 1, the Voting Rights Act, passed the House. It has not passed the Senate, and we're here to tell you it's not going to pass the Senate. They also passed this thing called the George Floyd Act. The House Democrats, which also is not going to pass the Senate. And it's such an insult that they call this piece of trash the George Floyd Act, because as the Guardian points out, and I think I saw this somewhere else, but I just was able to pull this up really quickly because our comrade Ricky in the comments said, please talk about the George Floyd Act.
Oh, we plan to.
Yeah, so the George Floyd Act wouldn't even have saved George Floyd's life.
Oh, wow.
They focus primarily on banning chokeholds. First of all, chokeholds were allegedly already banned in New York City when Eric Garner was strangled to death by the NYPD. And we talked before on a previous show about how this is always what city councils do. And this backroom deal they make with the police unions and the police departments, and they'll say things like, well, look, you keep killing people, and we got to do something about this. We got to pass some kind of legislation. So I tell you what, why don't we say to people that we're going to ban chokeholds?
Yeah, we're going to put a Band-Aid on it.
Yeah, that's we're going to ban chokeholds, but you don't have to do anything different.
Right.
You don't have to do anything different. We're just going to say that we're going to ban chokeholds. And then the police and the police union say, okay, well, we're going to look at our training manuals and all our documentation, and we're going to change the word chokehold and call it something else.
Right.
Because what happened in New York City with Eric Garner was that they claim, the cop Pantaleo, he didn't have Garner in a chokehold.
Yes.
Because chokeholds are banned in New York City. But you and I know what a fucking chokehold.
Well, yeah, and then all of this technical stuff like this they really tried hard to really try to prove that Pantaleo did not use a chokehold.
Yeah.
I mean, you should listen. I mean, if you would have listened to Conservative Talk Radio at the time, everybody who called there, especially every white male, was an expert. Was a military. They served in the special forces, and I can tell you. I mean, the typical call was like, "Hi, I served in the special forces, and we were trained on how to do this and that and the third." And when I watched the videotape, and I watched it with no emotion. I watched it with no emotion and just the facts. And when I looked at that videotape, from my military training, he did not use a chokehold. And
they always these people always call into these conservative shows, and they always know somebody who works in the whatever.
Yeah.
They have experience themselves. They never have any emotion about anything
They're not racist. They're not biased.
Racist, right?
Yeah, they're not biased. All they want is the facts, just the facts.
And they're the expert,
right?
So when you consider what the George Floyd Act focuses on, and this article points out that the act seeks to ban racial profiling, overhaul qualified immunity for police, and ban the use of chokeholds. That's bullshit.
First of all, I don't see how you could ban racial profiling.
How do you ban racial profiling when the institution of policing is racist and every black person they see is a potential threat?
I mean, but this also falls into the area where Martin Luther King Jr., Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. used to always talk about legislating hearts. I mean, racial profiling stems from within. That there are certain attitudes that you hold that would that would lead you to racially profile. So you say, okay, we're just going to ban that. And this is where what you was talking about, Jackie, that I think is very important, is that we never get we never get any real solutions. So now it's like, okay, we'll ban racial profiling. But how can you ban racial profiling? Because you're dealing with the attitudes,
right,
and psychology of the people who So if a cop pulls me over, how can I prove that he racially profiled me?
Right. I mean, and look, there's a whole bunch of legal precedent and Supreme Court decisions that have given the police in this country wide latitude to fuck with people. Black people, brown people, indigenous people, for no reason whatsoever, as long as they suspect that someone has done anything wrong. So that point right there, that like, well, how you gonna ban something that you've already made it difficult for the victims to prove? But that's the bait and switch that they always do. Then there's this point of, focusing on chokeholds at all and naming this act the George Floyd Act. Well, George Floyd wasn't murdered by a chokehold.
No, he was murdered by a knee on his neck.
There's that. And then there's the point that Ricky Ryan raised, which is extremely important. The fact that the 1033 program, which is the program that supplies military equipment to state and local police departments, and not just law enforcement, state and local.
Right.
We're talking about campus police and even police that are cops that are stationed in high schools.
Right. The SROs or something.
Yeah, SROs or whatever, nice name they use for them. Nothing in this bill about disbanding the 1033 program and stopping military weapons of war used in battlefield and combat to be given to police departments. The ridiculous part of this piece of legislation about banning racial profiling also in regard to George Floyd, well, he probably wasn't racially profiled. Because, I mean, they claimed he was doing something illegal.
Right.
And so, they avoid the issue. Why would the police give a shit if somebody passed a fake $20 bill,
Right.
if that's what he really did?
Right.
Because that's the narrative. This man lost his life for $20, and that's not the issue this bill deals with. The criminalization of petty bullshit civil offenses.
Right.
This bill doesn't deal with that. So, look, you can find this article in The Guardian. It's just, it doesn't boggle my mind. It just makes me hate these politicians that much more, that they would play in our faces like this.
But, and I know that this isn't the subject of the stream, but it's a symptom of a much bigger issue that we have as African people, period. Is the much bigger issue is we lack power.
Come on now.
I mean, we lack power. We lack, and those who can't make or refuse to make the international connection, who want to confine it to just within the borders of the United States. You go to Africa right now. We saw I saw a program about what's happening in the Congo, and you got people who are being killed not only by the rebel groups, but they're also being killed by the same government troops that's supposed to protect them.
Right.
They showed a video of a woman being surrounded by government troops who are supposed to be protecting them, beat her to death, and then when she got up to try to run away, she got shot in the back. So black people, no matter where you go, let's go to Haiti, same thing. So, so no matter where you go, in Brazil, every 82 minutes, a black person in Brazil gets killed by the police. Now, I don't know if COVID slowed that down, but that was at least the statistics that we saw last year. So, I mean, there is no different treatment. You're talking about people, a group of people, no matter where they live, long as they share this African DNA. And all they share is African DNA. We are without power. And so when you're not without power, these spam people, boy. So when you're without power, it's a basic rule of nature. The powerful abuses the weak.
That's right. Right.
So here we are in America, telling ourselves as black people that that we're somehow special.
Right.
That we're somehow special because our ancestors got dropped off here, as opposed to Brazil, as opposed to Jamaica, as opposed to the Dominican Republic, as opposed to Haiti. I mean, just from the flip of the coin, any of us could have been one of those things. But we could tell ourselves, and a lot of us even carry ourselves, that we're better because the ship that carried our ancestors just happened to land in
South Carolina,
yeah,
or Richmond,
or Shackled Bottom, or something like that, right? And but the thing of it is that we are treated no better than the Brazilian. The Afro-Brazilian. Let me get that straight. We are treated no better than the Afro-Mexicans who are catching hell in Mexico because they're black. We're being treated no better than the Haitian. We're being treated no different than the black woman in the Congo that got shot down by troops. Now, if you would really want to connect the two, the black woman that got shot down by the troops that's supposed to protect her, how is that any different than a George Floyd? How is that any different than all of the cases of black murder at the hands of the police? The police supposed to protect and serve. The first thing black people do, because we call them, you know what I mean? So black people, a lot of y'all are foolish enough to call the police because Aunt Betty y'all ain't heard from in a while. Instead of taking your asses over there and check on Aunt Betty, then you want to sit there and say, well, I want a welfare check. So then you call the police and say, well, I haven't heard from my Aunt Betty in about, a couple of days. We want to make sure she's all right. Police go over there with the intentions we're always with this thing of looking for a threat, looking for a threat. That's how they're trained. So then, and we had cases like this, they go in there, Aunt Betty might have Alzheimer's or whatever, and she's not acting within the way, because see, we have to act in the way that they think we should act.
Right.
I mean,
even that's not a guarantee.
Well, look at Elijah McCain.
That's right.
Here you got now any other kid, if he was white, he would have been looked at as you know, he's a special kid.
Mm-hmm.
You know, he's a savant. You know, all of these things that white folks come up to explain the personality differences within their kids.
Mm-hmm.
But see, we have to fit within this narrow framework of what white supremacists tell us we're supposed to fit in. So here you got this kid who's shy, and you know, and he plays the violin, and he does all these.
He's on the spectrum, I think. Yeah.
Right, he's on the spectrum, right? And all of a sudden now, well, he don't act like none of the kids I saw on he don't that I seen on rap videos. He don't act like none of the kids his age. He doesn't fit the what we have accepted is the black male personality. So you know, so it's something got to be wrong with him,
right?
You know, and the first thing comes from them is that this whole thing of looking suspicious.
Mm-hmm.
So we call cops thinking that they're there to protect and serve us. Then you want to know why Aunt Betty's found shot to death,
right?
Because the police go in there. Aunt Betty might have Alzheimer's. All the lights are out. She wants to know who's coming in her house.
She's afraid,
and she's afraid, you know. And so, how is that any different than the people in the Congo and throughout the diaspora, wherever black folks are, who are being murdered, not only by each other, because you know we got that problem here too, but also murdered by those entities that are paid to protect them.
Right. And let's be clear, the other connection is that more often than not, the U.S. military, the CIA, and other alphabet intelligence agencies, or whatever they want to call themselves, they train those forces,
right,
that are killing people who look like you and me in Somalia, in Uganda, in Rwanda, in Haiti, in Baltimore, in like Ricky is saying, in Jackson, Mississippi, in Washington, D.C. They train. This is white supremacy is an international problem.
It's global. Look. Neely Fuller Jr. Said, and I still believe this. He said that white supremacy is the dominant religion on the planet.
Mm-hmm.
You could worship Allah, you could worship Christ, you could worship anything that you want to worship. But guess what? The law of the land is white supremacist law.
That's right.
Now you can believe, as many do, as I do, that it won't. That nothing lasts forever. But right now, the Muslims are what? Under subjugation of what? White supremacy.
Mm-hmm.
The Christian world under the subjugation of white supremacy. I mean, Buddhists under subjugation of white supremacy. So white supremacy is the dominant form of the planet. So to even look at it in a parochial, narrow-minded view is itself suicidal. Mm-hmm. Because I mean, look, when white supremacy gets together to attack us, they attack us as a whole.
Right.
You know.
Right.
I mean, look at World War II. When they dropped the bomb on Japan,
mm-hmm.
they ain't drop it on Germany because you can't drop a bomb on white people.
I mean, and here,
but we're foolish enough to believe that we got a special we got a special cause with this white man.
Just say it. You just go ahead and say it.
I'm just
we're
saying,
a new tribe.
Yeah. We feel like we got some kind of special status that will allow us to be looked at differently mm-hmm. than what the rest of those who share the DNA of the continent. We should be looked at somehow differently.
Right.
When in fact that even our own arrival here in this country was global and was internationally connected. The slave ships didn't come from America. The slave
mm-hmm.
ships came from Europe. Mm-hmm. Britain, Portugal, France, they all look. You think that the French slave ships only took kidnapped Africans to Haiti and French colonies? Mm-hmm. No. This was international commerce. So for us to be so naive to sit and think that somehow we have a special status because we have a special status you just mentioned. Here it is talking about the Voting Rights Act. I thought we went through that.
I know. I thought we.
So here it is, 2021, and we still talking about voting rights.
And we actually believe that we have some type of special magical status in the system that has not respected the so-called constitutional right to vote that their precious little piece of paper, the Constitution, was supposed to give.
Right.
Come on now,
Now the thing of it is that we go on is the fact that, like we said earlier, is that we need to really deal with reality here.
Mm-hmm.
We, you and I, we're here to really, and this is our views and we stand by it. But also that we have to teach too, because a lot of us, man, have been misled, have really seriously been misled, and a lot of that that being misled is based on the fact that many of us don't study.
Man.
We don't get political education.
We don't read.
And the biggest problem that we have is that we too much put personalities above principles.
Oh my
So
gosh.
we're star chasing.
Mm-hmm.
We're star chasing, and what's happening is that we're being misled because we're following cult of personality as opposed to what is real and what would give us the blueprint for success.
I mean, you're absolutely right. And this problem, I think, hun, it's present across the political spectrum and the social spectrum. And I'm not going to attribute it to one thing. I think it's a lot. I think it's the result of a whole lot of different societal things, societal changes, the preponderance of social media, I think, where people, you have access to all of this amazing information at your fingertips, in your hand, right? And people go for the easy stuff and they read, they don't go past the headline, and they don't read into the, so they get the surface level misinformation that's on top of the propaganda that the state and its media apparatuses want you to have. So that's a huge problem. But this thing about star chasing and putting people up on pedestals and focusing so much on personality and not focusing so much on personality. And the ways that personality can take advantage of, the good work and the good intentions of people who are trusting in them in the movement. We did a show on Black Power Media a couple of days ago, talking to our comrades who are in the Black Lives Matter state organizations. They are involved in the state chapters. And we talked about that big financial mess involving the Black Lives Matter Global Network. And we strongly encourage you to watch that video on Black Power Media, not because it's us, but because these sisters came and explained the whole situation, not what the media said, not what, somebody else said. They were involved in this situation from the beginning to this point. It is very, very important that people understand that, look, you have to have accountability and transparency in your organizations. You have to have a structure or something in which people, you can struggle with your comrades, to make sure that things are on the up and up. And when they aren't, you need to have an exit plan for somebody. Exactly. Or else, the situation as it exists now with Black Lives Matter, that $90 million is, and probably more money than that, was miraculously made by the organization at the top and didn't trickle down to the people who actually did the work to generate those funds. So
and that wasn't miraculous, Jackie.
That's true. That's true.
It wasn't. People of goodwill gave that money.
That's true. Because of the work of the people on the ground.
So it wasn't nothing miraculous about it.
Yeah, I take that correction. That's true.
But the thing of it is that this is the reason why. And look, I'll sit up here and say that a lot of us, and I have to even check my intentions, but we checked our intentions a long time ago. And so we knew what side we stood on. But there's a lot of us who aren't in this for the struggle. A lot of us are in here. A lot of us are in this to be entertained. A lot of us, I always imagine, I say to myself, I said the people who got the loudest bark, especially, you know, like the ones that are so aggressive and acerbic in their attacks on people, are the main ones that don't leave their computer.
How about
They
that?
are the main ones that don't go out on the street and do anything. They are the main ones that don't contribute nothing to the struggle but nonsense and ignorance. That's all they do. You know, you got some people as this line from The Dark Knight, that you have some people who only exist to burn down the world.
Yep. That and
they don't want to see nothing good.
And how often do we see that play out? You know, not just recently, but just the whole however many years we've been doing this. So we got to be really, really careful about that. What's going on, Maurice? We see you in the chat.
Is that my son?
Yes.
Hey, there he is.
So, all right, let's get to the meat of the matter.
Yes.
Talking about Black folks and our money. Unless people didn't realize it, the Luqmans, we are Pan-Africanists, we are internationalists, and we are for reparations. We get that not everybody agrees with that. Not all revolutionaries are reparationists, but we are. We are. We always have been.
Yep.
So
I am not leaving no money on the table.
I ain't leaving. Look.
It's a debt. They owe it. And yeah, go ahead.
Yeah. I mean, the organizations that we have supported, like in Cobra and NAARC, that have been doing the work of pushing for reparations for decades, 50 years, even longer. Most of those people are radicals, not all. Some are kind of liberalish, but most of those people are radicals. And I got to plug our interview with Cam Howard.
Oh, yeah. Yep.
The male chair of NCOBRA.
Shout out to NCOBRA.
Yep, shout out to NCOBRA. That is also on Black Power Media. We talked about HR 40 and we talked about some of the criticism about NCOBRA from the ADOS folks. Check that interview out. But the Luqmans are for reparations.
Yes, we are.
We always have been.
Yep.
We've been consistent with that shit from the whole, when Bernie Sanders got up on that stage and said, when he was asked that question, do you support reparations? And that dude said, no, you do it because you do it better than me.
They said, do you support reparations? Well, it depends. What does reparations mean? How would you figure it out? What does it do? Is it going to be a check? I don't agree that we should just give checks to people. But how is that? Could you draw me a diagram? What does? I mean, send me a fax. I don't know.
When he got up there and said that mess, we were like, "Are you serious? Are you serious with this? You all of a sudden don't know what reparations are." But we're gonna get to him in a minute. Right. But when Barack Obama, interviewed by Ta-Nehisi Coates, in what was that, 2013? Ta-Nehisi Coates, the man who wrote the
case for reparations.
I do think, I still believe, regardless of what I think about Coates' politics, I still believe that the case for reparations is one of those pieces of evidence for the case for reparations that people should read. I think it is pretty good, and it was very impactful. And it was I won't say it caused it, but it was a major cause of the reigniting of the reparations discussion. Exactly. That was in 2013, I think. I believe so. So despite what some people think, their hashtag didn't get that first hearing so that was the second hearing in, I think, 40 years. Last year, it was the article by Ta-Nehisi Coates, the essay by Ta-Nehisi Coates in The Atlantic. It's called, like you said, The Case for Reparations. Right. So Ta-Nehisi Coates, Leah said that your imitation of Bernie Sanders was good. Thank you. So Coates, if you remember, Ta-Nehisi Coates interviews Barack Obama, has him on a stage and asks him about reparations. Right. And Barack Obama said, he said, President Obama, do you think that Black people deserve reparations? Well, no, I don't think so. I don't think that reparations is feasible at this time. I just think that you just ought to pull your pants up and go to work. He didn't actually.
He didn't actually say that.
He didn't say quite that.
Quite that.
But he absolutely
That's
did.
what I took from it.
That's what we all took from
Yeah.
it. When he did that, it was like, are you?
Right. And what really bothered me was the ease. Now, you know, let's set this up. Because this Negro, and you know, I calls him the first Negro president. And I hope we don't never get another Negro like him as president. But as the, you know, but this Negro president, he got over 95% of the African American vote, right? 95%. Infused within a large section of Black people who had given up on politics, have infused in them or injected in them, however you want to use the lingo, a renewed sense of hope in this political system, right?
Hope and change.
Right. You know, so he got, even though we knew that he was really shitting on us, because when he came to Harlem and he said, you know, he spoke to us like Cosby spoke to us from years before, you know, all of the chastising. So we even told ourselves, like we said it when Cosby did it. Yeah, it hurts, but you know, he got to do this for the white folks. We understand. And so we were willingly allowing ourselves to be beat down by this Negro because we wanted him to be president and we knew he had to play the game. Because that's what we said.
That's what we did.
He don't really mean that. He just got to play the game.
Right.
So we, you know, so we understand. We winked at him. He winked at us. So then we was bad fathers. We got to, you know, it was always, you know, of course, because when you're jumping on Black people, Black men is an easy target. So now all of a sudden it's like, you know, you got to be better fathers and you know, be more responsible. And but he didn't talk to us about policy. No, that was for white folks. So, you know, no, I'll talk about policy when I get to Iowa.
That's
right. And I get to New Hampshire. Then I'll tell them what I'm going to do.
Right.
But you Negroes right now, you just need to just straighten up and act right and man up and pull your pants up and stop getting so many women pregnant.
And stop. What was the thing about the fried chicken?
Yeah. Stop putting your children in front of TV and giving them cold Popeye's chicken. Now, no white person, politician or otherwise, would have even dared go in front of a Black crowd and say what this Negro said. But because he was Barack Obama and we wanted to see history, you know, we knew he had to play the game. We said, okay, we'll be his whipping post for now. What we didn't know was that nigga meant it.
He meant it. Meant every word of it. Every word. Oh my God. So, you know, out of all the things that have come out about Barack Obama.
I didn't mean but, you know, the N word.
Well, it's out now.
It's out now. That's how mad he makes me. But it's to the point where we didn't understand that Negro actually meant that.
He really meant it.
Right.
We were hoping that he was just playing the game. But a lot of us, I think, had that sick feeling that, like, especially after that, like, 30.
Right.
We were like, oh man,
you know what?
He really.
No, you know what we was? We was like Huey in the Boondocks. You know how Huey see all the nonsense around him, but can't nobody see it. But he just sit there like. But you know, but he's afraid to say something because he know that what he'll say won't be accepted because everybody's caught up in this, right?
And isn't that what happened when Black people started criticizing Obama? Oh my God, just people and their grandmamas, and we got rebuked. You see what happened to Cornel West and Tavis Smiley?
Exactly.
That was Tavis Smiley before the sexual allegations. That was. But yeah, yes, Leah. Leah asked, did Obama really say that?
Yeah, he did say it
about cold chicken. Yes, he did say.
And you know what?
He really did.
We'll find a link where you can find that. You know, we'll put it in on our page.
Craig Bardo said, we need Obama therapy. That Negro makes my blood pressure rise.
And I mean, the only two Black people he knew was Ray Ray and what was it?
Pookie and Ray Ray.
The only two Black people
Pookie and Ray Ray. Remember that? In the elections, y'all get Pookie and Ray Ray and them out to vote. Woo! This. No, we could go on with this dude, but we're not going to make the rest of the show about this dude but we do have to say one more thing about this disingenuous lying clown. Now that he's not president no more.
Oh yeah, no, he's not yet.
Now that he can't do nothing about nothing.
Right.
Now that he has a little podcast with what's his face, Bruce Springsteen, and they calling themselves some renegade, whatever it is,
renegade something. Yeah.
I don't know what it is. Now he reverses course, saying he favors reparations. as proposed legislation gains so support. Get the fuck out.
I know.
First of all, Barack, we don't care what you have to say about reparations anymore because you already kicked us in the teeth a couple of times on that issue. So now, like we said, that you can't do anything about it. Your opinion means shit.
Yep.
Absolutely nothing. So, but here's the kicker. The reason he says that he did not support reparations.
I'm bracing myself for this.
Brace yourselves. He said that he feared white resistance and resentment if he was vocal about the debt owed to Black America. And please read this article, folks, because this article is written by our friend Anoa Shanga. Big up to her.
Yeah.
Please go to News One and read this piece and cuss the whole time. But let me close this because it's making me angrier and
Let's check this out. Compare that, as much as people don't like Trump, but compare that response to Donald Trump when Donald Trump was running. Donald Trump made it clear what he was about. He made it clear who his messaging was for, and he made it clear that he was going to be about that when he went into office. So there wasn't when Donald Trump went in there. Yeah, he didn't do anything for the poor white folks either. That's why they mad. But he didn't do anything for them. You know, all the promises he made. But what he didn't do was throw him under the bus. So much so that he even said he loved them. Right. So even though he ain't do nothing for him, Trump had enough. He had enough finesse to at least say, "I know I ain't do nothing for y'all. I know y'all probably worse off than y'all was before. But guess what? I love you. You're my people." They still felt connected to him. Obama, no matter if it was a ploy or not. But what made me so angry about Obama's response was the same thing that made me angry when he was up on stage with Ta-Nehisi Coates. Is he's so relaxed in saying that he doesn't like if anybody who got 98% twice, 2 terms, anybody who got that much support from one community, and for 2 terms, and that's what makes it even worse. Nigga, you were scared of white folks in the first term. You was a lame duck in the second term.
Exactly.
So that's when you should have been all Dolomite on them then.
I mean, the whole thing about, the Black folks being don't criticize Obama because they hate him so much they might kill him. Well, after the first term and they tried to kill you, and I mean, there were lots of, this is not even joking, there were just an insane amount of death threats against the man.
Yeah.
There were. But after that first 4 years and they ain't get your ass, I don't understand how you didn't. You went, well, I'm Superman now. Shit, I just do whatever the hell I want.
They knew that after your second term, you couldn't run no more. So that was the time to really turn it up. But you know why? He couldn't turn it up? Because by the time he got to a second term, the Democrats no longer controlled the majority of Congress. That's right.
And why didn't they control the majority of Congress? Because even the Democrats went along with the racist Republicans in telling the first Negro president, you're too toxic, so don't get involved with the midterm campaigns in the states. And that's how they didn't run.
No.
They didn't run on policies. They had passed the ACA, the bullshit piece of legislation that it was. They had passed the ACA. They didn't even run on the ACA.
No, they didn't.
They told Obama to stay away from the midterms, and they lost the House.
They played racial politics, and it bit them in the ass.
So why does this matter? Why does Obama saying he supports reparations now matter? Well, look, like we said, we support reparations too, but let's be clear about why Obama's sudden support of reparations, now that he's not scared of what white people are going to do to him, matters so much. And it's so insulting coming from this man. Because remember that time that all those Black people lost all that wealth under the first Black president, under the first Negro president. Remember that time?
During the housing crisis of 08.
During the recession.
Yep, 2008.
When he passed that bullshit TARP relief, whatever it was,
Mhm.
that gave all that money to the financial institutions that caused the recession,
Right.
that caused all of those people to lose the value, equity in their homes and their homes.
That now, here it is, 2021, and the statistics say that we still haven't recovered from that.
Yeah.
Black people, I mean, black haven't recovered from that.
No. Now, I recognize that Zayed Jelani is a shitty person as a journalist, but this article is important in examining the ways in which the Obama administration, Barack Obama, the first Negro president, didn't do anything to help the people who were impacted the most and the worst by the recession. And I can't help but remember, hon, the words of cackling Kamala Harris when she said, when she was asked about reparations, well, I'm not going to do anything just for black people. Rolling her neck.
Yeah,
like
because who would do that? You know, and you know, when that has been the whole philosophy of the neo-Negroes, is the fact that, like, the neo-Negroes, you know, when they come up here and they say, well, like Kamala Harris, all she did was just repackage Barack Obama's, you know, rising tide lift all boats. Because what she said in that comment was, in that statement, she was like, well, you know, whatever is good for black people is good for the country. But I'm not gonna do that for
I'm not gonna do shit for you.
Right. So, you know, so it's gonna be good for the country. So it ain't gonna be just for black folks. We are the only demographic, right, in this country, black people. However you want to identify yourself, a New Indian or whatever you want to identify. We are the only people of African descent in this country that people feel it necessary to let the rest of the country know it's not just for them.
Right.
Now nobody now, when you deal with the dreamers and you deal with the immigration situation in this country, don't nobody say, well, we're just doing this for the dream. No, we're not just doing this for the dreamers.
Right.
Or we're not just doing
this is good for everybody.
Right. LGBTQ community, or whatever else was added to it. They don't say, well, it's not just for them. You know what I mean? Oh, we're not just doing it just for them. But we are the only ones where it seems like it's okay to say, well, this is not just for black people,
right?
And, you know, so don't make it think that, you know, we just giving them a whole bunch of giveaways.
Exactly, and let's be clear, because I don't want people to come back and like, oh my God, the Luqmans are homophobic and they hate immigrants. And no, we're pointing out the hypocrisy in the way people deal politically with us, as opposed to how people deal politically with other groups of people, and that goes back to power.
And we have a right to point that out. Because see, one of the reason why we lost ground so much is because we have attached our political aspirations too much to others, and we haven't. I mean, politics is a blood sport. Politics is much of a blood sport, and you can have alliances, you know, but in those alliances and stuff, you have to. I mean, Kwame Ture said this. You have to really promote your own political agenda first.
But you have to agree on a political agenda. And this is part of the problem internally with us, right? Like, let's take the issue of reparations. You got some people who believe, because they think they're a new tribe, that they can decide which black people should or should not get reparations. And you got folks like us who, you know, are Pan-Africanists, and those folks believe that about reparations because they don't believe they're African. Right. They believe that, look, the Africans, what have they done for us? And, you know, these people, they don't help us, blah, blah, blah. Not understanding imperialism, not understanding U.S. militarism, excuse me, not understanding a whole lot of stuff that can, and honestly, not understanding DNA. Seriously, can we just really be honest about that? People who black people who talk about we ain't African, really, I really think they don't know what DNA really is.
Well, you know, I love when we had an African brother, I forget his name, that spoke at the church one time. And it's true. There's an old African proverb that says that you can throw a tree in a river and leave it there for 1,000 years, it'll never turn into a crocodile.
I don't care how long ago it was that we were dropped off on these shows. 500 years from now, we still gonna be African.
And this been a continuing thing. I mean, this is common amongst oppressed people. And,
Yes.
I mean, look, we grew up with, look, Jackie and I grew up during the time when everybody was Indian. Everybody had Indian in their blood. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I don't care how dark you was. You know, you didn't brag
I
about.
got Indian in my face.
Right. You didn't brag about the African in you. You bragged about the Indian. And, you know, you did your best to make the baby hair and all that stuff. You girls that's old enough remember the baby hair. They're doing all this stuff, man. I mean, and, I got Indian in me. I got Indian in me and stuff. And when they did the genetic test, which came out, I think they actually wanted to see if this was true. All these black Americans talking about they got all this Indian in them. And they actually did a study. And you know, when DNA started to, you know, really, come on board. And found out that most of us aren't as Indian as we thought we were. That a very small percentage of African Americans in this country actually have Native American blood. Very small.
Not Indian at all.
Also, they did. Most of us, African Americans, probably have more Caucasian blood than they do Native American, and even that is not as widespread as we thought it was.
Exactly.
So you know, so all of this stuff about the mixture of whites with us and mixture of Native Americans with us and stuff that somehow makes us something other than African. The genetic test doesn't bear that out. The genetic test doesn't bear out. We are African, whether we want it or not. The reason why we go through these identity crises is because we don't have any power and prestige, and we don't, and we've been taught. I mean, Ibn X. Kendi. You know, I mean, stand from the beginning. Read that book. There has been centuries of anti-black propaganda against us. And so what happens is that Africa, which has been destroyed just about from the transatlantic slave trade and the constant exploitation of by the Europeans and the Arabs, and you know, and because Africa has not been allowed to develop naturally like other nations, then you know our status is not only based upon the condition of our slave heritage. You know, this heritage,
the heritage of enslavement,
of enslavement.
But even before that,
but even before that. But what I'm saying is that once Africa started to become weak, and you know, and once the African empires and stuff started to be weak, and the slave trade was in full effect, then there was a rebranding, because that's all this is. It's a rebranding. There was no such thing as race prior to the slave trade. Then the Romans and all them, that all of these European nations, the Greeks and all them, Alexander was marrying Persians and all this other kind of stuff. So nobody had a concept of this white supremacy. White supremacy is basically a new construct. So what happens is that it was rebranded, and the rebranding came from because, believe it or not, whites are human, and and as being human, you got to kind of justify why you're doing this.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Right.
You got to justify, the money's good. You see that in any illegal activity or illegal commerce or in the drug trade. It's like people justify selling drugs. People justify why they contract hit people. I only kill people that's in the game. All this stuff. So this is the nature of human beings. This is the nature of human beings to try to reconcile their morality with what they know is immoral.
Exactly.
So but in our case, this was done at the highest levels. The Vatican. This was done by this was done through the educational systems of the Europeans. People who were given prestige of being doctors and all this stuff. Everybody had a hand in this anti-black propaganda. So now here we are in this modern day time, talking about we want to get out from under that. We're something else. We're Black Hebrews. No, we're this. We're that. We're this because we don't want to admit that we don't like the stigma of being African. Now, there's no stigma to it, but it's this inherent shame that has been placed in us about our Africanness. And though we don't want to admit it, you know what I mean? We try all of our best to try to get from away from that. We try to get away from being Black more than anything else.
We almost try to get away from being black more than we would try to get away from Michael Myers if he was running behind us with a machete. A couple of questions are being asked in the chat about Pan-Africanism. Black Magic is asking, it sounds like if one is not a Pan-Africanist, one is not black. That's not the argument we're making at all. What we are saying is that regardless of what you want to call yourself, your DNA doesn't lie. And whether you want to subscribe to the ideology of Pan-Africanism or not, a couple of things are true. All of the black radicals, there we go. I don't know what's happening. We seem to be having some video difficulties, and let me see if I can fix this.
Well, I think one of the things, if we still got audio.
Yeah, still have audio.
All right, hold on, let me see. Well, I'm over here on okay, it's back.
Is it? Okay.
Yeah.
All right. Always something, y'all. when you don't have that nationwide platform money. But listen, if all of the black radical leaders, thinkers, intellectuals, movement builders, historians, activists, I don't care what it is, almost all of them recognize the importance that our connection to Africa has to us, and the need for African people to unite across and throughout the diaspora, right? That is absolutely true. I don't care who it is you're talking about, from Martin Luther King Jr. To Fannie Lou Hamer, to Ella Baker, to Kwame Ture. I don't care who it is. Most of those people, if not all of them, recognize the importance of our connection to the continent, and the reason that we have been denied having that connection without interruption, and the reason was so that we could not build power.
Well, yeah, and I think that we need to make the distinction, as you said, that Pan-Africanism has nothing to do with ethnicity. Well, what I mean by that, Pan-Africanism is a political ideology. It's a political, so it doesn't have anything to do. It's on. It doesn't have anything to. It's on.
Okay.
Well, now it's off.
Yeah. All right. Keep on.
All right. It doesn't have anything to do with whether that makes you black or not. Pan-Africanism is a political ideology, and it's the political ideology that has been stressed by the Honorable Marcus Garvey, W.B. Du Bois, who was a Pan-Africanist, Kwame Ture, Malcolm X, so it's just it's acknowledging that Africa belongs to the African,
right,
and that the European has no right to control and own the economy and the politics. Pan-Africanism is based on three concepts. That, first of all, there's culture. Culture is important. One of the reasons why we're in such a mess as Black people is because we have gotten away from what our culture is. Many of us don't know our culture. But culture is the immune system of any people. So, everybody talks about, well, the Jews could do this. Why couldn't we? Or the Chinese or the Asians could do this, because their culture. It's culture that protects you from a lot of things that's from out. The African proverb that if you deal with the enemy within, the enemy without can do no harm. The enemy within a lot of times is your culture. That's the reason why white supremacy takes so much effort. That's why they take effort in order to destroy that which empowers us. Jackie, you and I were talking about hip hop. And when we was coming up during the 90s, when you had conscious hip hop, during the time when you and I were younger, where you had kids our age, that was when we were in our early 20s and stuff. Everybody was wearing Malcolm X hats.
Right.
We were wearing the African. We were identifying with our roots. And when you identify with your roots, whenever you start to identify with your culture, then that makes you want to do better. When the last time any of these hip hop artists came out with self-destruction? When did they come out with that? But because we were starting to identify with our culture and identify with what was going around us and understanding what was being done to us, then we was like, we need to stop killing each other.
Right.
So then the hip hop artists came out with self-destruction. Public Enemy and them came out with Fight the Power. KRS-One and a whole lot of others. Even the gangbanging West Coast decided that they had to come together with an anti-violence song because we were getting connected. But then all of a sudden, because that wasn't making them money, now all of a sudden it was like, well, we can't empower. When we becoming empowered, that means that all of a sudden now we wouldn't make good fodder for the capitalist, political, and the prison industrial complex. Because somebody has to feed all of these things.
That's right.
So what do? You corrupt the people's culture.
Exactly.
Get them talking about killing each other. Get them talking about disrespecting their women. Get them talking about living a lifestyle, a destructive lifestyle. Get them, flood the neighborhood with crack cocaine.
And guns. And
right.
Nothing that's created in the neighborhood, but that is not beneficial to anybody's life or spirit or ability to support themselves.
Turn the black man against the black woman. Turn the young black kids against their elders. All of this stuff, man. This was, this is a plan. These people think while these people play chess while we play checkers.
Right.
So they're sitting there saying, how can we, not today, but how can we have them under our control 20 years from now?
Exactly. And we're going to get to the rest of the reparations comments with the reparations talk in a minute, but we need to address this. This whole idea that, Africa is 54 countries and they're not united. We just explained to you why Black people in this country are not united and targeted by this capitalist, white supremacist, imperialist system. And because this is the way this system works domestically, what the hell do you think they're doing on the continent? That's exactly what they've always been doing on the continent. They don't want us to be united because they do not want us to have the power that all Africans uniting around the world would have to end their system of white supremacy, capitalism, imperialism, and domination and global hegemony, especially if we unite with all working class and poor people around the world. That's what they don't want to happen. And we're going to talk about this more.
Well, let's make this clear. Kwame Nkrumah.
Thank you.
Kwame Nkrumah wanted to unite Africa. He was overthrown. Patrice Lumumba, Thomas Sankara.
They were killed.
You have to study your history. You have to study. Muammar Gaddafi, the last thing that he was doing before the United States under the Negro President Obama assassinated him, he wanted Africa. He was trying to put Africa under one currency. That's right. So they would stop being exploited. That cost him his life. So we have to understand that we have to study it. The United States, you think that they gave up their playbook after they let the so-called African have independence? No, that independence means that, okay, we're not ruling you directly, but what do? They put neo-colonial leaders in there, which are just them in blackface.
Exactly.
So you have to study. And that's the thing. See, one of the things that really is a hindrance today in this whole sphere is no one listens.
That's what it is.
It's all the thing of this. No one listens, but the smartest person in the room is the one who listens. All we do today is just shout at each other, but no one listens.
And how many years have we spent sitting at the feet of people telling us, no, my sister. Now I can tell you how many times my elders have told me when I repeated some crazy capitalist lie about Black people to them. And they're like, no, my sister, that's not true. Listen to me. Let me tell you what really went down on the continent. Let me tell you what this system did to our people on the continent and kept our people from organizing with those people. Again, we're going to talk about these things, this history, in another show, in a future show on Black Power Media, because this is important. This is absolutely important. And we're not here to change anybody's mind. We're here to tell you some of this history that we know some people have not partaken of, but really, really need to. And as far as hip hop is concerned, African music all the music that we have created is based in the music that comes from the continent, every bit of it. So yes, hip hop absolutely does have African roots. But anyway, let's get to this reparations discussion, because we ain't gonna be here all night going back and forth with y'all in these comments. So why is this important? We mentioned Bernie Sanders earlier, but here's something that has happened recently that we want to call your attention to. And this is one of those things where we have to be careful in making sure that we don't just read the headline and get all excited, because this is what happens in a generation of folks who are immersed in social media, and they click on something. All they do is read the headline and they think they have the whole story, and they just absolutely don't. Which one is this? Let me find it now. Okay, there we go. So if you've seen this article, this is from The Hill. It's a political publication, supposed to be unbiased, but you know, they're pro-imperialist, they're pro-capitalist, they're just equally snarky toward the Democrats and the Republicans, but they're not left at all. But anyway, this is the headline to the article. Biden advisor reportedly says White House will start reparations to Black community now, right? If you read the article, which we keep telling you, you should read. The Bear doesn't believe it. The Bear doesn't even believe that shit. This is an ad in the article, but the Bear is looking like, that's some suspect shit right there. Yep. And he's right, because really what this actually says is that the Biden administration is willing to further explore reparations for slavery. So, you know, the Biden administration basically is signaling that they're probably going to support HR 40, right? Again, that does not mean that if the Democrats vote to pass it in the House, which they will not, that it will pass in the Senate, right? Which it will not. I'm just telling you what the Biden administration is claiming right now. But all you need to know about this in regard to what the Biden administration is going to do about it is look at the way they handle the $15 an hour minimum wage, that $2,000 stimulus check promise, the Voting Rights Act that they just passed in the House that ain't gonna pass the Senate, and that bullshit George Floyd Act that is also not gonna pass the Senate.
Here you go.
What?
Yeah, HR 40, 3-car Monty.
Yeah.
See, HR 40 right here.
Huh? Yep. Where is it? Where is it? Right there. Oh, damn it. Better luck next time. That's exactly what it's going to be like. But listen, there are some things that you need to know about Joseph Biden and this whole reparations thing and what they understand about reparations, because they're always talking about, you know, we don't know how we're going to do this. Oh, yeah? Well, and this is for Biden in particular, because this is... I didn't even know this until I started.
But that's the thing. I bet you a lot of people out there didn't know about this. Because this didn't make any fanfare when the time that it happened.
No coverage of this in the United States. Nope. I do not remember hearing about it at all. I only found out about it after we were researching for this show.
Right.
And this is where y'all's progressive hero Bernie Sanders can kiss my whole behind. The Obama administration earmarks $12 million for Holocaust survivors. Get this, folks. Not Holocaust survivors in Germany, right? Not Holocaust survivors in Israel. Holocaust survivors in the United States. Answer me this. Did the United States... Now, okay, yes, the United States played a role in World War II that contributed to some Jews being sent to the death camps. But did the United States do it?
Well, I mean, there was no Auschwitz here.
There was
no concentration camps that were built with the intentions of exterminating the Jews on these shores.
No, that didn't happen. Here's the other thing that you should know about these folks. They're not American. They are European survivors of the Holocaust,
right,
who settled in the United States after the Holocaust, after World War II was over. For some reason, I keep getting the two world wars mixed up in my head. But after World War II was over. So this idea that you have to be American to get reparations from this government, this says that's bullshit.
yeah,
We need to let go of that argument right now. You can call yourself whatever the hell you want. I personally don't care. But this argument that you have to identify as American, you have to put on the cloak of Americanness in order for this government to pay you reparations, these European Holocaust survivors disprove that theory. And it was done under the first Negro president and y'all's current president, Joseph Biden.
Who, Joseph Biden, was the one that came up with the bill. And he came up with the bill because he said that there were elderly Jewish Holocaust survivors who could not pay their bills.
How many of y'all and y'all folks and folks y'all know, y'all family, y'all big mama, y'all auntie, uncle, y'all, us, have a difficult time paying your bills? Not even just in the pandemic. Right. Just because we live in a greedy ass capitalist society,
or just because we're the victims of a unjust wealth gap,
and
that was perpetrated on the backs of our ancestors from free labor and not getting what was due to them.
I mean, you know what? Let me do that. I'm putting some people in timeout. I love y'all, but this is not 5-minute timeout. You keep antagonizing folks and you come back with it, we block you. We don't have time for this kind of bullshit. We really don't. We can disagree and not be personal and throw misinformation and ahistorical lies at each other. And if you can't do that, then honestly, we don't want to have a conversation with you. And we don't want to subject our people to you either. So anyway, let's keep talking about.
That's why you have to be suspicious, because a lot of these people come on here, you don't know what they are, you don't know who they are, and when Black people try to get free, there's always going to be a lot of infiltration. There's always going to be a lot of other people's agenda trying to take us off a course. So this is what the struggle's about.
It is.
Yeah, nobody wants Black people to be free. Nobody wants Black people to be independent. Nobody wants Black people to have self-determination. Because if you did, there wouldn't be these outrageous attempts at trying to derail the conversations and it boggles my mind. So so in my mind, you're nothing but an agent.
I don't understand, like we've said before, when we were planning and researching for the Pan-Africanism show. So we're giving you a little tiny previews before that. I mean, if you're ADOS, that's fine. Fine. We're not. We're Pan-Africanists, but we are for reparations. So if your goal is to have reparations, why are you so pissed off that we align with Africa, that we want to connect with Africa? So I too am suspicious about what it is
that's straight agent behavior, man. Because I can't see that if you claim that you're for what we say we're for, then you shouldn't give a damn with how we approach it. I mean, that don't make sense. In fact, man, that is a lack of intelligence to sit up there and say, well, I'm for what you for, but you angry because because I identified with this way. We both claim that we want the same goal.
Right.
So then what's your issue? So I can't come to any conclusion that you an enemy and you are an agent.
God, it's just crazy. But in the meantime, the actual enemy, we're showing you who the actual enemy is. And this man, Joseph Biden, who wants to make a big deal about supporting, whatever it is that he claims that he supports, because I don't even believe he's actually going to support HR 40 being passed. But he, under the Obama administration, awarded it says here $12 million of assistance to Holocaust survivors, but in the end, it ended up being like $17 million, along with assistance from like private groups or whatever. So the allocation came from the Department of Health and Human Services to the Jewish Federations of North America to be dispersed over 5 years. And
they got the money already.
They got the money already. This was launched in 2013 by Vice President Joe Biden to address the needs of survivors in the United States, a quarter of whom live below the poverty line.
Now, how long we've been living below the poverty line? The majority of Black people live below the poverty line, and live below the poverty line due to the policies of the United States government. But yet, there was no part of the United States government to sit up there, especially with the first Negro president, to sit up there and say, "Well, you know what? We have so many Black people represent 13% of the population of the United States, and they make up so much more percentage of the poor." And so much more percentage of those living below the poverty line. And that is due because Obama admitted that on his Renegade program, that he understands that is due to historic injustices that happened in this country. But he couldn't do anything at the time, where he was afraid to do anything because of white resistance, even though he got more of our support than he got from white support. But he felt the need to pay attention to them as opposed to pay attention to the very folks who gave them their all in all.
Exactly. I mean, and here's how ridiculous this whole thing in terms of Joseph Biden. The article says, and this is from the Times of Israel, normally wouldn't even pay any attention to this, to this publication. But because they reported on this, and you're not going to find this in any U.S. publication that we could find.
Right.
It's noteworthy. They say that after Biden launched the initiative in December 2013, the White House in 2014 named a special envoy to the community to coordinate volunteer activities to assist the survivors. This is the 130,000 people. Okay, I get it's not like 40 million. Okay, I understand that. And it's hard to coordinate, an envoy to 40 million of us. But when was the last time any administration coordinated any kind of envoy to any of us, especially those of us who are living in poverty, to ask them what they need,
right,
what we need, but they could do it for 130,000 Holocaust survivors living in the United States. This was in 2014. This is the other part that I thought was interesting. Some guy who's a co-owner of the Minnesota Vikings helped organize the distribution of hearing aids that were a part of this outreach effort. So this whole thing about, these NFL teams not understanding reparations and racial, just also bullshit, also absolute bullshit. But this is Mr. What did he say? The Black community's always had my back, so I'm gonna have yours.
Yeah, that's what
Biden.
he said. That's what he said.
Don't hold your breath on HR 40 being passed and getting reparations from the Biden administration. Don't hold. And by the way, those reparations included cash checks, cash to those people. It included different kinds of assistance and also cash. So when Bernie Sanders stood on that stage, Abdus, and talked about, I don't know what reparations are, what are they, how would you do them? Bernie Sanders was a senator in 2013.
And he voted for it.
He voted for,
He voted for it, but he doesn't understand how, reparations would be done for Black people, but he does know this. They shouldn't get a check. Because he said that on stage too. He said, I don't agree with people getting the check, because see, when it comes to any type of financial assistance to Black people, then you have to, go into the lab and come up with all of these tailor-made stuff, like we talked about on the show before.
Right.
Because we're irresponsible, so you just can't send us checks.
Right.
Because we'll all we do is eat fried chicken, drink liquor, and shoot drugs. You know what I mean? And the crime rate to go up.
Right.
And all this other kind of stuff. So no, we don't want to do that. But so we have to, again, treating our community like we're a bunch of children.
Mm-hmm.
So what we have to is take their reparations and do certain targeted investments.
Right.
And if you want to think, American black man, that you're the only one that the European think this of, well, how about the German government, who freely gave reparations when it came to Israel, still giving reparations to Israel, but they massacred a people down in Namibia, where Namibia was a German colony. They massacred those people. I can't remember the name of the tribe, but there was a documentary based on them.
Mm-hmm.
And
one of you knows.
Okay. Well, when this tribe went to seek reparations from the German government said that, first of all, they wasn't paying reparations. But then, because of international support for the tribe, the German government relinquished. But this is what they said. Okay, all right. We acknowledge that, yeah, we done some stuff down there. We mistreated, and we participated in acts of genocide to this tribe. But we're not going to give you reparations in the traditional sense like we gave the Holocaust survivors and like we're giving Israel right now. What we'll do is we'll give targeted investments, whatever the hell that means.
Yep.
We'll give you targeted investments in that area to help develop, not to develop, to help develop this area. So you won't get any money. This tribe and their leadership went to Germany because they had to collect the skulls and skeletons of those of their people that the Germans took back to Germany with them. So they had to grab these bones and their skulls and take them back to Namibia so they can have a proper burial on their homeland. So when you start talking about what is Pan-Africanism is the fact that these people, the tribe, would have had a nation state or a united Africa behind them, where Germany wouldn't have been playing this type of game with them. But see, when you're powerless and you go against somebody with power, they can do you any way they want. When the Jamaican prime minister asked the British prime minister when he came there, this was a couple years ago, and he said, the Jamaican government already decided that Britain owes them reparations. So when the prime minister came down there, when the prime minister of Jamaica asked him about reparations, he said no.
Yep.
He did not stutter.
No.
He did not sidestep. He did nothing. He said no. You know what I mean? Why? Because Jamaica is not in the position to make the British pay. Just like Haiti is not in the position to make France stop exploiting their resources, like Africa. And you know why? Is because the fact that we are a powerless people and there is no protection. Had that tribe would have had a united, financially strong, a militarily strong Africa, then they could you negotiate from a position of strength. And even whether you call yourself ADOS, you're not negotiating from a position of strength. You're not, because just calling yourself an American descendant of slaves is not negotiating for a position, because they could give two shits, because if that meant anything to them, then we wouldn't have to ask.
Yep. So that's our show, folks. That's what we have been paying attention to in the news. I bet you're not going to hear a whole lot of people talking about the Biden administration position on reparations and the history behind this country and who they actually have been paying reparations to, and being able to connect it to the global, international, and imperialist nature of the people who are keeping us in the United States and our African relatives powerless, so they can continue to just sit up in our faces and tell us no. So we'll talk more about Pan-Africanism, why the Luqmans are Pan-Africanists, on a upcoming episode on Black Power Media next week. And then after that, we're going to have a conversation about why we should have Pan-Africanism, why we need it. We're going to get into more of the history with that. But tomorrow on Black Power Media, we are talking to Milton Alamadi, the publisher of Black Star News, about issues on the continent, specifically dealing with Somalia and Uganda and maybe some other stuff. That's at 5 p.m. over on Black Power Media. And then right after that, then it's Dr. Shreese, Burton Stelly. Yes.
And I will end
the
with
last
this.
dope intellectual.
And I will say this is that, you know, no, we don't have a problem engaging with anyone in dialogue, right? But this has to be respectful for both ways, because you know, we're not going to respect you. I mean, we're not going to disrespect you, and you damn sure ain't going to disrespect us. So the thing of it is that as civilized, intelligent people, we should be able to dialogue. You don't have to agree with me. I don't have to agree with you. But one thing that should be agreed upon by both of us is that we need to respect each other.
Yeah, and I don't care what you call. We don't care what you call yourself. We don't care. But you're also not going to disrespect our history either. The history is what it is, like it or not. So anyway, thanks a lot, y'all. We appreciate you. As always, we appreciate your support. Like the video, share, subscribe to us on YouTube. You can support us on Patreon, patreon.com/Luqman Nation. And check us out on Black Power Media tomorrow night. We appreciate you. And as the eternal chairman, Fred Hampton, always said, peace if you're willing to fight for it, because we are having to fight for it.
And it ain't cheap.
No, it is not. Let's see if I can get this right this time, because I always have such a problem with this. Okay, wait.
How they came and they on top and I'm a mile up. How them on line before I dial up. How they came and they on top and I'm a mile up. I know the wall's closing in, but don't you dare give up now. Poe believed in me, pull up through some bucks down. Todd told the valet pull the truck round. Push the line after we drew it, it's just us now. Would you believe me if I told you my granny told me she prayed this? Then booked the surgery just to pull me out of the basement. Right back where I started, nothing to show for a facelift. Got pushed playing Walter White and Davis, never felt so dangerous. The type of power they can't quantify. And name the best from my region, you got